What if your kids were proud of their last name? What if they actually believed in the family unit, in the clan, and they rallied behind it? What would be possible? That is a question that I asked myself a long time ago because I had a lot of friends who actually hated their last name and hated their family. And as unfortunate and sad as that was, that led me to believe that that might be part of the reason that they had a lot of issues. So when I was young, a young father, I decided to change that. And I wanted to talk about that today with my daughter, the beautiful, young, amazing little human that she is.
Okay. Do it.
What's your name?
Anastacia.
Sorry, I did a terrible job of prompting her there. This is my daughter, Anastacia. She's Anastacia. She's here for
Spring break.
spring break. And she hasn't been on the show in a while. She's been working and doing all these things college life requires. But since she's here and she's crashing in my place, I said, you have to record this with me. It was a topic I was already going to record for this week, but what better way to talk about it than with someone who is a byproduct of this entire brainwashing process that I that I started when they were babies. So, first of all, it seems kind of silly to even talk about this. Well, of course they should be proud and whatnot, but if you ask around and maybe if you look at yourself, you might feel that you have no sense of pride. You don't care about your name, you don't care about your family. Issues arise. So I felt early on as I was a father that maybe if I could change that, then it would also help me install other things in them. It help install the sense of pride, other lessons revolving around our family values. We don't rob, we don't steal, we don't cheat. Because we as Aguirres, as a part of this family unit, don't do those types of things. So knowing what I just said and knowing that the home that you did grow up with here, how did you feel that was reflected?
I don't know. For me, I always go back to being taught my name.
Yes.
Being so proud of my name and yelling my name at the top of my lungs.
That was actually one of the first moments when I had to teach her. It became obvious that it had to be very intentional. Through some crazy circumstances, I asked her what her name was, and she said another name, Anastacia, and let's just say Martinez. I don't even know. And I was like offended. I'm like, who the hell is Martinez? And as upset as I was, in the moment, I remember, wait, I don't think I've ever taught you your name. And that particular day, we were in the car, we're driving, and I said, okay, after I got over my anger, my initial anger, I said, all right, let's work on this, and had her start to say her name. And not just, obviously, her name is Aguirre, it's Anastacia, saying it in Spanish. And do you remember how that worked out at the beginning?
I couldn't roll my R's.
Couldn't roll your R's. And I think you were a little sad because obviously the pressure, you did something wrong and you didn't. And then that's what I was trying to tell you. However, I was trying to start the first step, which was, let's just start saying it. I can't say it. I can't say it. I'm driving. Right. You can say it slow. Whatever you can. And she eventually did. And it got to the point where it became a game. It became a game to be able to say their name. And one of the moments when I was most proud of is I actually had her say her full name in front of my parents. She has my mother's first name and my father's last name. That's the family name. So I would ask her, what's your name?
Anastacia,
I can't hear you.
Anastacia,
And I could see my parents get all emotional, and I would get emotional. But that was one of the first instances where it made sense. Because if you have pride and being a part of this unit, then almost anything else I thought would be easier. So what else? Other examples that we did is there was a building in Dallas. There was a building in Dallas that was the Aguirre Roden building. And I think at one point it was just the Aguirre building, Aguirre something. And at one point I think I looked it up. It was an architecture firm of some sort. But anytime we would drive past it, we'd scream, Aguirre! And it was just a rallying call. You remember that? Yeah. And even after it was sold, we continued to do it.
Not a giveaway.
We don't. It hasn't been probably in 5 years, but a couple of years after, while they were still living here and we were still going back and forth, we would drive past it without the name there, and we sometimes surprise the crap out of each other and just start screaming bloody murder. And what was that like for you? Why was that important?
I don't know. Just everything felt very intentional. Like we have these traditions, and I don't know. Just it was a game. It was fun, and we always laughed and had a good moment together. And usually it's like when we're driving home from something.
Yeah. And it was really loud. It was almost obnoxiously loud because we were just trying to surprise each other, hoping that the others wouldn't even pay attention to it. And we had a couple of other exercises that we would do, which I'll share here in a second. But the reason for this episode was triggered by a friend of mine who asked me. I did a podcast with her in which it was about overcoming generational trauma. And most families have it. And most of us came from something messy, maybe directly behind us. Our parents, our grandparents may have been through some things. We may have been through some things. But how do you overcome it? And I have found that this act of installing family pride, and it wasn't through beatings. Like, I imagine the way kings and queens used to beat it into you. There was privilege, so there's that. Earning the privilege and at some point being king or queen, being proud of that, but being proud of the fact that despite not having a lot, you could be proud of this unit and this clan, right?
A poem about it.
Oh, tell me about that.
It was, I don't know, it was one of the first few poems I wrote.
I actually remember that.
I was like a featured poet. I was a VIP poet, and I got to perform like VRBIQ.
Yes.
Stand next to each other.
Yeah,
I don't even know, but it was
beautiful. Actually,
there's a video of it.
Yes.
We are ideal sisters, span and die. We stand up for each other, never leave our sides. He's an ideal dad. He fights for us, he feeds us, and he takes care of us. Now we are an ideal family. We are warriors. We fight for each other. We take care of each other. We are never lonely because we're always there for each other. And this love will never stop. It will keep going on for generations. This love will last until the world ends. So don't try to break this chain, because you won't. We are unstoppable. We are the Aguirres.
Moments like that reaffirmed that it was happening, that it meant something. That doesn't mean that they didn't get into fights or that we don't have disagreements or debates. It meant that we still resolved it. Are you tired of burning through your marketing budget faster than you can say ROI? Posting on social media, crickets. Running ads, more crickets. Watching your marketing strategy flop like a fish out of water while you quietly sob into your coffee. Fear not, this episode of the TV Show Podcast is brought to you by, me. TV the Marketer, founder of Rockstar.Marketing, here to stop the madness. We take your marketing dollars and actually make them do something, like work. Want video content and ads that'll stop your audience from scrolling faster than they stop for a baby panda video? Yeah, we do that. So, if you're done setting your marketing dollars on fire, visit www.rockstar.marketing and let's turn those crickets into cash. Another principle that I stand by is that, and I think it's still true and I intend to keep it going, is we bring everything to the table. We meet, we talk, we sit down for dinner, and especially if there's beef or issues, we try to bring it to the table, because there's one thing that I really, really hate in any relationship, including with my partner, and actually I talked about it in another video, I think, but especially as a family, I don't know about your family, but my family, I have a brother that doesn't talk to me, hardly. I have another brother that I didn't get a chance to talk to. I have an older sister that doesn't speak to me. And a lot of it revolves around not resolving and dealing with stuff that may have happened in real time and just years and years compounded, and it just became ugly. So if you're watching this, sister or family, I'm down for a conversation and hanging out and apologizing for whatever I may have done. I'm always willing to apologize, but sitting down and talking, that is a part of the family culture. We're not going to carry resentment. I would hate if you carried weeks or months on without talking to me because of something I may have said.
And I feel like it's like just created this culture where we can talk about it, and then like a few minutes later, we'll laugh about it. We'll laugh at each other at something. I can talk with my sister, we can fight, and then 5 minutes later seeing each other like we'll be laughing together because it's fine. We know we're still family.
We're still family, and at our core, we do genuinely love each other. And if there is a misunderstanding, bring it to the table. It's very important to me, because it's unfortunately really sad that a lot of families, and I'll use myself as an example, so I won't assume your situation. You don't. It's hard. Those difficult conversations, like we just try to brush it under the rug, right? We keep pushing it under, and then imagine 10 or 20 years of that. And then 20 years down the line, you find out that your brother or sister is upset about something you did when you were 15. That, to me, is sad and unfortunate. I hope that through the process of instilling the family pride and knowing that we are standing by each other, even when we say some shitty things, and we do some shitty things, make some bad jokes that right? What can you say about that?
I was the person making the bad jokes. Oh yeah.
But you were young and you're, for lack of a better word, dumb, like ignorant. And as you got older, you're like, get a little wiser and like, oh, that might have been out of bad timing, off color, whatever, right? Or just don't know what the other person's going through.
But she could tell me that. We could talk about that.
100%. So those are the reasons that I felt that installing family pride was incredibly important. They're all grown now. Not all. I mean, there's only 2. It's not like there's 20. But they're both grown now. And I am been fortunate enough to see them grow and consistently continue to stay close. And actually, I think even getting closer as you've both matured and come to an age where you now understand your sister more. So now you're almost talking the same language because you're basically the same age after a certain point. When you're 2 years, I thought about this recently, when you're 2 years, that's the difference. When you're 2 years apart and you're 10 and 8, those 2 years can be a big difference, 12 and 10, so forth and so on. But now they're 22 and 20, especially when you get to 30 and 28. The difference in mindset at that point is like the gap is closed and you're basically on the same wavelength, understanding the humor, understanding the times and whatever's going on in the world, understanding each other, right? One of the biggest things, one of the things I also wanted to do as a part of this is create not a culture, a sense of pride, but also a brand around it in modern terms, but a coat of arms. And I designed something that I called not yet. I called the Bleeding Spade. I put it on myself as a tattoo many years ago, and I have an F and an A. Fe and Anastacia. She's Anastacia. They are my biggest sense of pride and joy. They're the reason that I am the man that I am. The more thought I've given to it. Like you girls literally forced me to grow up and stop being so immature. You and your brothers and siblings. And it's something that I don't take lightly. I took the job seriously. But you two, the Bleeding Spade symbolize us. I like to think about it as we will fight and bleed for our passions and for our love. So it's a spade, right? And it's red. Over the years, I think I've had it long enough that they also grew fond of it. So what did you do, young lady?
I turned 18. I went and got the same thing.
She got a tattoo with it. And her sister before her, when she turned 18, shortly after, she also did. Now, I'm not recommending that you do this. And there's nobody's, don't brand your children. That would be sadistic. Is that the word?
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that. However, I do feel like if you're intentional and you have things that they can look to, see, feel, that they will get behind it. And I think the biggest point is just the consistency over the years. I'll give you a couple of other things that we do. Well, at least one. I can't. At the end of every night, and we did this since they were babies. And it's corny. You did it last night. It's really corny. It's kind of cliche, but it works. It's at the end of the day, like, what are we doing? But it doesn't matter because the passion is there. So when we do it, end of every night, and I have a new one too, but we haven't done it in a while, but we put it up. Yeah. It's 3 of us, and now it's with my fiance. We would have all of us. It's 1, 2, 3. Aire. Or is it familia? Sorry, I got confused. 1, 2, 3, familia. And it's little things like that that I think we don't do. We don't have time, and I get that. But I feel like these little moments are investments. And you put enough of these together day after day, year after year. years. Now I text it to them as often as I can because they're not here with me anymore. I won't cry, not today. How do you feel that that's all impacted you?
I don't know. I'm a creature of habit, and I love our traditions. I love when I get the familia text line texted back in that year. And when we did it last night, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot we do this. Let's do it. Forgot what it's like to do it in person. It's just that, I don't know, dare we say it too much, at pride.
Yeah. It's a sense of being a part of something. I think we take for granted where our children will take in and adopt. We're unintentionally giving them bad habits. But I like to think that a large part of my parenting was intentional. It had to be. I had to figure out. And for me, I look around, and that's basically my philosophy. I look around and look at my family, look at other families, and hear the stories from my friends. And you can see some patterns. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of them hate their families. Or maybe they love their parents, but they hate their families. It was some weird mixture of the two. And I knew there had to be a better way. So it was an experiment, and I think it worked.
Yeah. And even when we didn't do it, I don't know, prior to someone else, we would like, okay, take two, do it again, let's do it again.
Yes, yeah. It was, it's little things like that. And I think we can figure out what those things are for us. You were going to say something. I felt like I cut you off.
But, I was going to say.
Yeah, I heard you breathe.
Even before we did it, we would sit there at the end of our day and just chat.
Yes.
30 minutes to an hour. It would take us forever to go to bed.
That's true. So, yes, we would go to bed. We would all go to bed together. Actually, that was another reason that's a good point. The chant was our way to signal the day is off. The day is over, let's go to sleep. I never had a problem putting them to bed. Now, they didn't necessarily go to sleep right away. They might still be up chattering and playing and making jokes, but it was a signal, I think, because of a pattern that was set in motion, like this is when we go to bed. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, familia. Once we got to that, but even before that, we'd sit there and talk about our day.
Get ready for bed.
As we're getting ready for bed, and we'd decompress and share stories of the day, and it became a magnificent experience, right? Hey, remember earlier when I told you about Rockstar Marketing and how we could stop your marketing strategy from flopping around like a fish in the desert? Yeah, that's still true. But maybe you didn't catch that. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I'll just keep throwing money at random ads. I'm sure something will stick eventually, right? Wrong. Spoiler alert, it won't. Look, you don't want to be that business owner that keeps trying to solve their marketing woes with duct tape and wishful thinking. You need results. You need Rockstar.marketing. So if you're finally ready to stop the slow motion train wreck that is your current marketing plan, visit www.rockstar.marketing and let's make your business the rockstar it deserves to be. Otherwise, enjoy those crickets, and now back to our show. And recently we started a new one before you left, something we called a team meeting I got off the internet. Which was fantastic, which is the idea, I think, is T is touch each other. We have to be touching, feed or something. E is for emotion. How are you feeling about the day, about us, about each other?
E is education.
E is education.
Something new you learned.
Something. Thank you, because we haven't done it in a minute. She hasn't been home.
Great.
Education. A is appreciation. Something that you appreciate about the other person. And M is mood. That might be mood, and where you should.
Rearranged it.
Yeah, we rearranged it because mood actually usually ends with something that you felt that the other person may have done to hurt your feelings or disrespect you, whatever. So we moved it to the beginning so we don't end on a negative. So it became timea. But the point is, it allowed us to kind of talk about in real time things that may have come up. And that was something that just started in the last year or two before you left. And it worked really well. The only problem was
took way too long.
We'd be talking for an hour, and it was too long. Point is, it was a great experience. It's something that we still continue to do, and I would recommend you guys do. Like, look into how you can install this in your family. And in case you're wondering, well, I don't have anything to be proud of, or I don't have great history in my family. I don't come from kings and queens. You know what? It doesn't matter. You may have come from some tragedy. But if you truly want to do right by your family and you want to create new stories, then essentially that's what we're doing. We're creating new stories. I personally decided that I was going to tell them about our family, where we came from. We're immigrants. I'm the first one to speak English and the first one to graduate from high school. Didn't go to college. She's going to college. That's pretty cool stuff, right? But from this point on, we're going to be really intentional. And from this point on, we're going to be incredibly proud. We will talk about it in our families and with our children and great children and great grandchildren. From this point forth, we're going to be bleeding spades, bleedingspades.com. You can visit that and you'll be taken to my main website. I do own it. You didn't know that. But there's no reason that you can't start today. The stories you tell, it doesn't matter. Your child just came into life today. Teach them today. And they will believe it and they will love it as long as you believe it and you love it. Any final thoughts, my dear?
Just want to carry on my name.
She does. Oh, that's right. So now this is not an obligation. It's not something I put on them. But talk about that, please.
Well, both have some.
Yes.
Because both of them have their own stories. But I guess that specifically is like, I love my last name. And should I get married, I love that person too, but I want to keep that part of me. So the most I'll do is like, I'll hyphenate. My kids will have a hyphenated name. I want them to feel that pride. We have a cousin who wants to be an Aguilera, and it's
interesting. Those are the moments where I'm like, oh, you want to be a part of this thing too? Like there's so much pride. Yeah, we're the cool kids, or we like to think we are, and why not? We're fun, we're engaging, and we're silly. Thank you. If you have any thoughts or considerations, please let me know. I like to think, let me know what you've done for your family to create family tradition. I'm actually really curious. Drop it in the comments or feel free to message me directly. I feel like there's so much that we can learn from each other. And that's the point behind these videos. I want to share what I've learned that has brought value and helped me create a life and a family that I'm incredibly proud of. And I'm curious to hear what you have because there's so much information and knowledge in the world that I'm eager to learn from all of you. So until next time, my name is TV and this is
Anastacia.
And you've been tuned in to the Becoming Better Ancestors podcast and show. We'll talk to you later. Bye.